You are an attorney, and it's in connection with your law practice. You're a trustee under a trust deed. In other words, you're foreclosing usually on a property. You don't need a license to do that, or at least not a real estate license. Or you're officers or regular employees of a utility company, like the gas company or the electric company. You know, often gas and electric companies deal in real estate issues, whether they are negotiating easements or they own a lot of real estate as well, and they're selling and buying real estate and whatnot. But they are not the utility company. They work for the utility company. Well, that's okay. You can do that because it is specifically exempted under the law. So that's a general flavor of the exemptions. Have a good feel for that. Let's talk a little bit about property management. Property management is obviously taking care of someone else's rentals. And there are exemptions to needing a real estate license to do this activity as well. We went through them in the course in detail, but let me summarize real quickly. Obviously, if you're the owner of the property, you don't need a license. If you're an employee, meaning that you are a W-2 salaried employee and not paid a commission, you could work for your boss. For example, you're the office administrator for a prominent orthodontist here in town. Orthodontist loves real estate, has 9 or 10 rentals, and is always looking for more. Could he have his office manager who runs the dental clinic also manage his real estate? And the answer is yes. But that person can't manage real estate for all the dentists in the building, only the one that she's actually employed by. If you're an apartment manager and you live on site, you can manage that property in exchange for maybe a tiny bit of pay and maybe some free rent as well. But you're only managing the units on site. You can't manage units in South Jordan and also units in downtown Salt Lake on 2 different sites. Only the one site that you're living in. You're working for a homeowners association. Homeowners associations often hire full-time or part-time managers to run the affairs of the homeowners association, which is a whole lot like running or managing real estate activities. Well, that's specifically exempted if you're a salaried employee. Or you provide support services, rent collecting, arranging for repairs, showing apartments that are vacant where you do not negotiate the amount of rent. In other words, this is apartment 103 and it rents for $695 a month, and that's it. You're reading it off a schedule, and if a potential tenant says, well, would they take $500? Well, then they need to talk to a licensee. But if you're just quoting a pre-established rent off of a schedule, people that show apartment buildings most of the time are not licensed agents. They're just hired by the apartment owners or perhaps a homeowner association or other entity, and they are usually not licensed. Another aspect of property management you need to be aware of is because you have a real estate license, you are allowed to sell real estate and manage real estate. But that management of real estate has to fall under your broker's flag or your broker's banner. All real estate activity must be through your broker. Of course, an exemption of that would be if you own the property yourself. But if you are managing property for someone else and you don't own it, it must be through your broker. If your broker has a general real estate office, you are allowed to do sales and management. If your broker has a management office only, and your license is under the management office, you are restricted from sales. You can only do property management. Pretty easy to tell if you're working for XYZ Realty and they do both sales and management, you're good to go in either category. But if you're working for XYZ Rental Management, then you're restricted from sales. And I know that's a little strange, but you think, well, I have a license, why can't I do both? Well, it depends on where your license is hanging. If it's hanging with a rental-only company, you're restricted to rental. But if it's a sales and rental company, then you can do both. Many brokers have decided as part of their business plan that they're going to have multiple offices, and they all have the same name. Maybe it's Hot Dog Realtors, West Side, Hot Dogs Realtors, East Side, Sugar House Office, whatever it might be. But they all have the same name except that maybe they identify where their office is located, but they're flying under the same banner. Each one of these branch offices must have a branch manager designated to run that office. The branch broker or branch manager must have an associate broker's license. And the branch broker is responsible for the activities in that office in addition to the principal broker being responsible for the activities in all offices. Records for all these branch offices may be kept at one central location or may be kept at each branch location. The division would rather you kept it at the central office or the main office so that you're easier to audit. But whatever your broker chooses to do, the division must know where all the records are kept at all times.